What can I say about Super Crooks? I mean, what can't I say about Super Crooks? You haven't seen the show. I could just lie and you wouldn't. I really like how the first episode starts. It opens with a TV broadcast of superheroes that are famous in this universe. In my opinion, this show's really good at portraying how heroes would act on camera. They have the same sort of fakeness famous personalities do in real life, as in you can tell they aren't exactly being genuine in order to gain people's trust, Homelander style. We're then introduced to our main character. The first thing we learn about him is that he loves superheroes, and that him and his mom don't have the greatest of relationships. And that he's very aware of the type of parent he has. We then understand what his outlook on life is.
I'm gonna move out of this hellhole someday.
Also, look at how beautiful this anime is. I mean, just look at that beautiful art style. We then get a hero discovers superpowers montage that I think is really fun. It starts with the light opening on its own, his mom gets really upset, and then...
I didn't do anything! It wasn't me!
Stop lying to me! The light can't just turn on it... What the...
It wasn't me!
I mean, I think that's a pretty cool scene. Johnny then is really confused about what just happened. At this point, he begins to understand, and then learns to control his powers in a scene with multiple really interesting shots in my opinion. The scene shows him using his powers on a bigger and bigger scale until he eventually uses too much power and loses control. Which brings us to the very funny scene.
Sorry. I came already.
Wait, are you serious? That made you come?
And yeah, it's really goofy, but I think it adds some depth to those characters who are supposed to have very little screen time in the first place. Also, something I think is a really cool detail they added in is that the eyes of Johnny's mom are always out of frame, as if her face was forgotten by Johnny, or something like that. So that's pretty cool. Here we're introduced to Johnny's best friend Tommy. Remember his name because he's going to be important later. Johnny then tells his friend that he had his awakening and that he's the real thing now.
I'm the real thing now!
He then shows off his new powers by using them irresponsibly, which I think adds realism since I think that's how a teenager would use superpowers. He uses them to control a stoplight, to ruin his bully's radio, and even to mess with the school bell. At lunchtime, Johnny fully convinces Tommy that he has powers. We learn in that discussion that Tommy's dream is to be a hero photographer. They also explain here that every hero is descendant of another hero, meaning that Johnny's dad, who he's never met, also has powers. Little teaser for something, huh? Then, Janice, Johnny's crush, overhears their conversation and shares with them that she also loves superheroes, but only to be called back by her current boyfriend, the bully. Cut to later that day in the arcade, where Johnny uses his powers for his own benefits once again. They discuss how Johnny wants to become a hero, and settle with the name Electro Boy. The bully, who is also in the arcade for some reason, overhears their conversation and calls them virgins, as bullies do. But Johnny feels really betrayed when Janice laughs along.
Janice, you too?
Johnny then gets home as his mom was trying to rizz up the TV repairman and tries to ask about his dad, but gives up immediately, telling the audience that he already did and got nowhere before.
Someday I'm gonna move out of this crappy house.
He then reinforces his goals to the audience and sketches a hero costume. He shows it to Tommy the next day to have him improve it since he's better at drawing. They also hint at Janice being interested in what they're doing. Tommy then shares his upgraded design and they have a costume making montage, followed by a training montage where they learn just how strong Johnny is and also that he can fly. On their first day as a hero, they learn the hard way that they live in a really boring part of town. In order to actually get the name Electro Boy out there, they make up a plan for a publicity stunt where Electro Boy is going to fly above the new public pool on opening day, the first day of summer vacation. I think we can all tell where this is going. The day of comes and we can see a couple establishing shots of the pool, and also other buildings around it for some reason, like a church and a fast food place. Johnny then runs into Janice and has terrible rizz as usual. Once again, I want to point out how good the animation is, but also how fitting the soundtrack is. And it's now time for the big stunt. The pool is crowded just as planned and Johnny starts to fly in the back alley. They make it obvious that he still isn't an expert at using his powers. He at first gets confused for other famous heroes.
Whoa, who is that? It's a superhero! What's he doing?
But then gets recognized by his classmates.
Hold on a second. That's Johnny Bull! Johnny?
which stresses him out and makes him start to lose control, leading to him falling the pool, and of course, and it ends right there, which I think makes for a, though maybe a little basic, really fun origin story. Except, it doesn't. Right after that, people from the pool start running in the street, which leads this car running into the taco ball at full speed and crashes completely through the stone wall. The runners also make a truck drive off the road and somehow run directly into the church, leading to its total destruction, which distracts an animal truck driver, who is then completely blinded by the smoke and dust from the destruction of the restaurant, which makes the driver drive directly into the gas station, and then the explosion makes the truck fly hundreds of feet in the air, and it eventually lands right next to the pool. All the pigs fall out into the electrified water, and the truck after that. And then the scene actually ends. Oh, man, I'm pretty sure the bully's dead. Cut to when the paramedics got here. Johnny, fully in shock. Tommy finds him sulking in fetal position. He feels really guilty about what just happened, which, fair enough. I mean, he is pretty much responsible, even though the people that ran away in the street were just complete moron. And then he has the quickest 180 in all of fiction history.
Yeah, I am the one who did it. Find me a bag, a really big one.
But Johnny,
I'm leaving this freaking hellhole right now.
hey, what are you gonna do?
I am a super, but on the other side.
At this point, I just have the most mixed of feelings about what I just watched when they hit me with one final spark of hope. It shows the interior of a prison with some guy that kind of looks like Johnny. Could that be Johnny's dad? I thought. Then meeting each other could make for an interesting plot point, I thought. The next episode starts with one of the hardest openings of all time. We're then back in the prison, we get introduced to some half-baked designs for villain characters that we will never see again, and then there he is, it's the same guy.
Johnny Bull, come out. Sure.
It's him? That's Johnny? Yeah, it is Johnny, just years later. What happens in the very next episode is just a huge time skip that removes Johnny's entire origin story. Remember when I told you Tommy's name would matter because he was going to be important later in the show? I lied. We never see him again. And remember when I said Johnny meeting his dad could be an interesting plot point? That never happens. Oh, and remember Janice? Johnny's love interest who he killed the boyfriend of by accident? Completely vanished from existence. As for the rest of the show, I honestly think it's pretty good. It has elements that are good metaphors for the real world, like how heroes aren't always heroes, and how villains are just misfit for the way society is built, and also how the root of inequalities are those at the top doing everything to keep the balance leaning in their favor. I honestly think it holds its own in the genre. The main thing I'm upset about is how the first episode, which is better than any other episode in my opinion, and that is an origin story, has just not a single impact on the rest of the show. The show could literally start at the second episode and no one would be even a tiny bit confused because every important detail, important character, who the villain is, and how the world functions when it comes to superpowers is introduced in the second episode or after. Even Johnny gets fully reintroduced in the second episode because of how much he changed throughout the time skip. So, what I'm trying to say with this video is that I think this show was ruined because of how much it disappointed me. Sure, the classic superhero origin story might not be for everyone, but I am exactly the target audience for it, and as a superhero fan, I think this one works really well, especially because of Johnny's immature teenager personality, and also what I think is a really good supporting cast. Although, throughout the rest of the show, most characters don't really have a character arc and end up being pretty one-noted. If this scene ended right as the people got electrocuted and skipped the exaggerated domino effect scene, and then the show took even just one more full episode to have a proper character arc that made him turn from hero to villain and connected the origin story to the rest of the show, it would be about an 8.5 out of 10 from me. But as the show currently is, I give it a 7 out of 10. Not terrible, not great, just mid. I recommend checking it out if you're interested, but it won't blow your mind or anything. But yeah, that's the end of my review. Hope you liked it. Like, subscribe, and share if you did, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!